We talk about the wide receiver class a lot on this channel, and for good reason. It is an extremely deep wide receiver class, with a lot of players who I think can be day one starters at the NFL level. Even down the board, I think there are so many talented receivers who could be game-changing players. One of the guys who I am a really big fan of is Virginia wide receiver Malik Washington, a transfer from Northwestern who absolutely burst onto the scene in 2023 and had an unbelievable year, and he's slowly becoming a very intriguing wide receiver prospect for the 2024 NFL Draft. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hit that like and subscribe button, leave a comment, and let me know who you guys want to see in the next video. But without further ado, let's get into it. Washington started his collegiate career at Northwestern. In 2022, he had 65 receptions for 701 yards and 1 touchdown on the year. Before the 2023 season, Washington decided to transfer to Virginia, which was odd considering Virginia is primarily a run offense. But he had an unbelievable season for the Cavaliers. He posted 111 receptions for 1,384 yards and 9 touchdowns. He was second in the nation in receiving yards, and he was absolutely fantastic for Virginia. Washington is an incredible route runner. He breaks in and out of his routes quickly and with anticipation. He has the ability to cut, and he has a stop and go ability where he can stop and go on a dime. He does an excellent job of getting separation as a route runner, which I think is really solid with him. He has excellent body control, great balance, and he always has a good idea on where he's at on the field. He leverages his body well, and he does an incredible job of creating separation. He also has fantastic hands. Despite a smaller frame, he does a really good job of going after the football and going to make a play. He high points the ball, and he has really soft hands in order to bring interceptions, which is an area of his that I think is really good. Not only that, he's actually pretty physical at the catch point, which is an area of his that I think is really nice to see and separates him from some of the smaller receivers in this class. Lastly, after the catch, Washington is really hard to bring down. He is elusive, and he does a really good job of breaking tackles. He has great contact balance, and he is always looking to pick up extra yards, and that's something that I am a big fan of when it comes to his game. We've touched on it a little bit throughout the video, but Washington is a pretty small receiver. He is 5'8", 194 pounds, and he has a pretty small frame, which is not ideal. Despite this, he does play bigger than he is. With his physicality at the catch point, his frames may cause teams to turn away, but he is a pretty physical receiver considering he's only 5'8", but it is something that we should definitely take note of. Typically with smaller wide receivers, you expect them to have really explosive speed. They have the ability to take the top off the defense, and you think to Tyreek Hill immediately. You want them to be quick, want them to be fast, but Malik Washington isn't. He's not going to wow you with his athleticism. He is not a super fast player, expected to run in the low 4.4s or between 4.47 and 4.49. He's not the quickest player on the field, really ever. He has a lot of other positives, but not being super athletic, not being super fast, is something that people might not love about him. Lastly, outside of this year, at Virginia, Washington didn't have a ton of production. We haven't seen him put up consistently really solid numbers, so that's yet another area that teams may be a little bit concerned about. Despite these areas, I'm a really big fan of Malik Washington. Yes, he's smaller. Yes, he's not the quickest receiver in this class, but he is an excellent route runner, he has reliable hands, and he's really balanced. He plays the game in a really fundamental way, and he's got the fundamentals knocked down. His numbers are not a fluke, and I think he can be a really solid player day one in the NFL. He is my number 18 wide receiver. Like I've said many times, it's a really deep wide receiver class. I think that the concerns are valid, and he is still lower on my board, but I still think he could be a really good player. He is my number 108 player in the 2024 NFL Draft. I think Washington is a very scheme versatile weapon. You can get him the ball in space where he can go, break tackles, and turn that into a big play, but I also think you can try and push him down the field and try and help connect with the deep ball due to his physicality. I think he could play in the slot, which is where he's going to end up being due to his size, but I think he could be effective in any offense. We just saw how effective he was in a Virginia team that liked to run the football. I think in an air raid offense and a run offense, any scheme, I think Malik Washington could be an effective player. This was a very lofty comparison for him, but Julian Edelman is my comparison for Malik Washington. Now I know what you guys are thinking, and I'm not saying he is going to have the career Edelman did, but neither of them were the fastest nor the bigger receivers in the world, but they had excellent route running ability, they were really good with their bodies, and they had excellent hands. Like I said, I'm not saying that he is going to be as good as Julian Edelman, who is likely a future Hall of Famer, but I think there are quite a few similarities in the way that they're built and the way that they play the game. So that's my comparison from Malik Washington. Washington has reliable hands. There's a lot to like with him, but there are some things that are concerning as well. I think he is worth the gamble, and ultimately, I believe Malik Washington will be picked between rounds 3 and 5 in the 2024 NFL Draft.